Hello, welcome to the 7th of December, day 7 of the Advent 10-minute portrait offering, challenge, gathering. It's so nice to have you here. I love being here and seeing my friends in the chat, Kiki, Ike, Fred, Louisa, Theo, or Theo, Hannah and Kiki. You could also let me know where you're joining from, because I know where some of you are from, some of you I don't, and it's interesting to see where in the world people are. It's been really cool seeing people posting their sketches from this 10-minute portrait series on Instagram and also in the Discord server. If you go to the live chat at the top of the live chat, and also in the description, there should be a link that will send you to the Discord server. If the link is no longer valid, then get in touch with me and I'll send you a new link, because it's just so cool seeing people sharing their work on the Discord server. And tomorrow is the 8th and workshop 2. I know that some of you in the chat will be at my shading and shadow workshop, and perhaps some more of you. Feel free to join. It's going to be super cool. They're €19 a session. And the whole package with the recording of last time is still available, because you basically get the recording for free and get the 3 upcoming workshops, and it's going to be really good. And I'm looking forward. I feel the momentum of doing these sketches. I'll switch over to my workspace because I'm looking at the work I've been doing. I feel, it's been really cool to focus on shadow yesterday, and I have some great input from Kiki there. Is this dark enough? Working on these sketches has been so much fun. These last 2 with shadow shapes I thought were really interesting. And thinking of hatching, today I have a reference of Jaida Lynn from the Museum by Sketchy app, and I am not sure if Jaida has an Instagram. I'm not aware of it yet. If I find out what it is, I will share it in future. Jaida said that they'd really like to see the results. So I'm not sure if Jada's on Instagram, but if you share on Instagram, tag me, #drawingwithdylan, and I will collect the sketches that I see in the next day or so and send them by email to Jaida. Because it's really nice to see. Some people, the museum app is different to Kanyo. The last few people we've been drawing are from Kanyo, where like everyone participating is an artist. Jaida is also an amazing artist and has really cool illustrations on the museum app. But also a lot of people on the museum app, which used to be called Sketchy, are muses, and they upload their photos to be drawn. Some of them don't share any art. Maybe they make art but don't share it. But but it's really interesting because there are people there making a lot of art and inspired and using the references for art, and a lot of people are contributing their faces to be drawn. So that's also another really cool active online community. Let's start drawing. I have 2 pencils, and I thought this was really interesting and different. The shadow shapes within the face are not as pronounced as with Yorkle yesterday, but there's this really cool hair shape, and there are some there still are shadow shapes in there, even though they're not as pronounced and not as dark. So I thought it would be interesting. I'm going to use these 2 different pencils. One of them is much darker, both polychromos pencils, and what do we got? The walnut brown again, and deep scarlet red. That's what I'm using today. So I was thinking for the shadow shapes within the face, I'll use the red. And for the hair, I'm going to go with the walnut, which is much darker. And it should be an interesting combination with the blending stump. And then I'm thinking I'll be able to focus on some of the it'll be pretty light in the face, but in the hair to get a nice dark shape, and use hatching and some hair drawing and hatching shapes in the hair should be fun. So I hope you're all ready. If you're not already drawing, which I'm sure some of you already are, let's draw Jaida. Thank you very much, Jaida, for letting us draw you. What should I start with? Hair or face? I think face. We'll start with the portrait. Or the hair. It's a really interesting hair shape. Maybe it'll be interesting. Interesting to have hair and just an empty face for the beginning. So Kiki said, line weight, light versus dark lines and implied lines, how to use them. Interesting. So line weight, let's just talk about this here. This is, okay, I'll start with some line and then I'll get into the hatching. So because we have such a dark edge here and there's such a strong transition, it goes from the face is wrapping around into this like dark triangle of hair right here. This is a nice place for a really like dark hard line. And here it gets softer because the tonal value between the bright hair and the side of the face, or the reference, the link is in the chat and in the Discord server if you don't already have it. You can draw from screen. But here, so there's less of a difference. So here it could be like an implied line where we could just like break it and then continue down here where it's getting like darker again, where we have a really dark shape behind the face. And it's a bit softer under the chin because we have like a lighter shadow on the neck than this super dark shape here. It's like we've got this dark, something really dark happening here. If we're just looking at it like an abstract shape, this transition is really dark. So that could be a dark, like a bolder line. If I was working with a calligraphy pen, I could like thicken up the line weight there. And a bit softer like down here and anywhere I see like where the transition between skin and hair is really dark, then I feel really like it's a good place for a heavier, bolder line. I was not thinking of focusing so much on line, but this is good. There are lots of lines here in the hair, but those are not, although they're very present, they don't necessarily have the same significance as like the border of the face. It's not something that we're going to dwell on as much. It's nice to have some variation, have some different lines up here because there's a lot of detail. Anywhere where we can just kind of imply detail briefly without really getting like really stuck into it, it's kind of can be nice. It's not always necessary. So here I've kind of just got a lot of lighter lines and it's like a soft edge, but it's a clear kind of border, the hairline to the rest of the face here. By the way, as an aside, if you are signed up to Let's Face It next year, Shannon is live streaming right now, my dear friend Shannon, who many of you know and love. In the Let's Face It 2024 group, I was going to do the face red, but the eyebrows are also hair, so that's all right. So after this, I'm going to head over to Shannon's live stream. If you're signed up to Let's Face It 2024, then you can also head over, draw along and cheer Shannon on. So I think, yeah, I would just kind of, I think that in part starts to address that idea of line weight, where and when to vary things, just like within that form alone. And it's definitely something we can really get into more. The whole idea of line weight is really interesting. And I know I don't feel like I've done a really line focused Patreon tutorial for a while, so maybe there'll be one coming up. And like to have a really clear strong shapes and strong forms, then like here, just thinking of this as like a kind of outlining, flowing line. What am I thinking? I don't know. I just got to keep drawing for a bit. 24 or 25? Wait a minute. What? Oh, how long are we going? The Advent sessions. The 24th is when we celebrate with the family and we go to visit Kira's parents, and so I'm thinking I may need to pre-record something, although I would love to just hang out with you. but it's also important to be with the family. So even if it's recorded, we'll definitely be going until the 24th, if that was your question. All right, we're halfway in now, and I'm like face, that outline, and hair is what I've been doing. So now I'm going to grab my red and see what happens with this. Brown and red. Okay, and here line weight, I've the thickness of the, it's actually like the eyelashes, because the eyelashes have a length, but we're looking like into that length, and it creates this bolder, like heavier line. And here there's this shadow shape or mid-tone shape, which is nice, which also kind of helps. This is kind of a leap of faith, or I'm already like, oh, I think I put the corner of the eye too far over. How much space do I need before I put the next eye down? And by seeing there's this like shadow shape here, and there's another one over here, and then I can kind of start putting those shapes down in between before committing to the corner of the next eye. And here I'm like way too far over with this to begin with, but using those shapes in between to help gauge the distance, that's something that I really appreciate when there is some tonal variation in the face with such, when there's not a lot of other kind of visual cues for where to put things down, like facial hair and wrinkles and scars. When that kind of, all that stuff is missing, then those mid-tone shapes, we'll just call them shadow shapes, they also help you find your way, because it's kind of this in-between, less visible, less obvious step of value. But once you start seeing those shapes as well, then they can be super helpful for finding your way through a face where there aren't as many like hard, bold contours and shapes to be drawing. Aha! The Let's Face It do thingy. 25, it's for next year. So Let's Face It 2025 in the Facebook group for Let's Face It 25. Thank you. I was talking about something totally different, Louisa. 2025 in the Facebook group. That is where you'll find Shannon streaming. And we can go over there in a moment and cheer her on if you're also signed up for Let's Face It 25. Which, by the way, is a very cool year-long art community practice, which I'm also one of the guest teachers in. I think there's like 30 teachers this year. Every week there is a lesson in your inbox, and once a month I also do a guided live timed sketch session, and it's really cool. And Shannon's part of the teaching crew this year, so that's fun. So here I've run into an issue where I'm filling in the face, but I've lost space in the chin. That is a risk of like putting in the outer extent of the face and then kind of working into it. It can happen. Not the first time. There's not a lot of time left, and I wanted to put in value into the hair. So maybe go a little over time. We've got half a minute left. So now I'm on the side of the pencil, and this way I'm able to put a lot more pigment down really fast. I would have liked to use more hatching and line, which maybe could still go on top of this, but this, in a similar way to using the blending stump, this is already putting down large amounts of pigment with the same amount of stroke as you would if you were like on point. So Kiki, I hope that I have addressed I definitely have to some extent addressed your impulse. I really appreciate having something to respond to in the chat. So as we continue to do these, feel free to ask questions in advance in the live chat. Sometimes if I'm in the focus of drawing, then I don't always get to see everything. Interesting choice with the one rounded and one square iris. Yeah, that's what I did, Horik. Yeah, maybe in that iris, I'll just go the pupil, get in a little bit darker there. This one, I feel like I really want to go spending more time on it, but that's 10 minutes. And this is the 10-minute portrait challenge that we are doing together. But it's exciting to feel like, I want to spend more, I want to keep going. And I love seeing that many of you have been spending more time. And as I mentioned in the beginning, please share your work, Instagram and also in our Discord server, which is in the description or at the top of the live chat. You'll find the Discord server, and we'd love to see you sharing your work there. It's really cool. There's also people sharing there that aren't sharing on Instagram and vice versa, and it's just really nice to see what people are getting up to. It's super fun, and I really enjoy doing this with all of you. Tomorrow we'll be meeting half an hour earlier because at the regular time of 9 o'clock I'll be leading the workshop, which you're all invited to. The link is at dylansara.com to book your tickets for that. So yeah, that's important to take note of, that we are meeting half an hour earlier for the 10-minute portrait tomorrow. Same place, half an hour earlier. And I've already even set up the stream, so you can go and hit the notify bell on it, and I think it will tell you where things are going to happen. You enjoyed my style, thank you. Hopefully we'll be seeing more and more. You're very welcome. I want to do more and more. I love doing this, love sketching together with people, and thank you all for being here. I'll be back tomorrow and the day after and the day after. Until the 24th, I'll be having daily things appearing here, live streams, and I'll be doing Zoom workshops. But yeah, definitely be back and back and back for more and more of this live sketching together. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing your sketches, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening, afternoon, breakfast, whatever it is. Have a good one. And